local recording. Okay, then let me share screen. Okay, so we are going to discuss more regarding, because we are in the new unit about data wrangling. Okay, let's see, what did we stop yesterday? Not yesterday, last class. Last class, hold on, let me see. Not here. Not here. Last class, I remember we finished concatenation. Is it? That's last week we discussed merge, join, concatenation. Is it various ways you can combine multiple data frames together? Is it? And so this, because this unit is regarding data wrangling. Data wrangling is convert data frame from one format to another, as it transform, and aggregation. And over here we are discussing wrangling. And so today let's take a look more wrangling cases. Okay. And the first, let's take a look. We have two data frame, A and B. Okay, those are two, not that very serious. Okay, so anyway, so here we have one. This is A. The second one, B, looks like this. Is it? And if you take a close look, you will find both of these two series, they have some overlapping items. Is it like F? Is it and E? Is it A? Is it they have a lot of overlapping items? Is it? And then in this case, when you want to do some combination, is it? You want to merge or join or like concatenation, is it? And sometimes maybe you don't want to like expand. Okay, you still want just to keep like a unique index. Then in that case, what should we do? Is it, which item should we pick? Is it? So here we have a couple of ways we can do. And here the first one show you can use numpy where. Is it? For numpy where, here it says, okay, if A, the corresponding item in A is null, is a null value, then you're going to pick whatever the corresponding one from B. Otherwise, you're just going to keep A's. Okay, keep A's. So here is one way that you can. So that's what the result. Is it because like for F, is it A is nay, but B is 0. That's why you say, okay, I'm going to use B's. Is I'm going to use B's. And for E, if A has, B also has, then I'm going to keep A's. Okay, so you can use this where filter. Okay, so that's one approach. And the second one, so you can also use this method, combine first. Okay, combine first is to combine two series into one. Okay, as a result is a union. Okay, but over here we have overlapping stuff. Is that overlapping items? So let's take a look. Here it says B negative. So here let's just get to the right spot. So here is A, and it says A is from A, from the, so this is sub-0, sub-1 from here, I remember, okay. And for B, it's -2. And for index -2, that means, so it's do the slicing, etc. Slicing to -2, so but it doesn't. So this is -1, this is -2. So this two going to be crossed out. So B, you have from F to C. And A, we have from D is it, to A, is it? And then you're going to combine both, is it? You're going to combine both. Combine both is that it's a union, is it? It's union. So F still will have 0, is it? And the E, it doesn't. So E will have the value, is it? And the D, it will go with 2.0. It will go into cell, it's combined first. And the C, it will have itself 3.0, keep it, is it? And but the B, it doesn't have, is it? So that's why B is going to use A's. And A, it doesn't, so A will use A's. Okay, so that's what this method try to get the result. Okay, so for A, we start from the third, is it? So that's how we get all of the result. Okay, so use this method called combine first. Okay, so combine first. So it's based on whatever the data frame or series, is it? And if it has it first, so that's why it called first. It go with itself first. If you have two overlapping one, okay. Unless it doesn't have, then it will pick one from whatever plugged in, okay. And then let's take a look more example here, is it? So here you have two data frame. So we have a DF1 and here we have DF2, is it? We have two data. And then you call the combine first, is it? So DF1 combined with DF2. So similar, is it? So it's a union, is it? A union, so that's why if you take a look at the result, is it? This one is from DF2, is it? But it's added, is it? And it go with DF1 first, is it? Unless it doesn't, then it will pick DF2, okay? So this shows again about combine first, pretty useful, okay? What next one today we will see pivoting, okay, melting, and those and pivot table. And they are quite handy when we do reshaping with hierarchical index. Okay, so here it's regarding hierarchical index. And we also learned stacking, is it? You can also use stacking and unstacking to handle hierarchical index to kind of rotate row to column kind of concept, okay? So let's take a look. So the first one, let's see, we have this data frame, is it? So it's 2 by 3. Okay, 2 rows, 3 column. And here you have index, is it? And the name is state. And you also have column and index, and it also gave them name, is it? So index and column, okay, and with their name. And if you call stack, okay, so stack is from wide to long. So previous it's wide, is it? You make it long, is it? So you get a column to index, is it? To index. So you move column to index. Then you only have a single column, is it? Versus previous, you have 3 columns, is it? So stack is from wide to long, okay? So you can see regarding the entry, you have each row, you have single entry, but now you have 2 level index, is it? So you have a hierarchical index, indices, is it? Not columns. Column you can also have hierarchical, is it? But here after you call stack, it make hierarchical indexing. And you can also do unstack, reverse it back, is it? Okay, and then next we have this data frame, is it? And if you recall for stack and unstack, you can also specify around which axis, is it, which level. So 0, so this is index 0, okay, index. This is index 1, okay. So if you do 0, is it, that's why it's going to rotate this two column. That's why we have two column, okay. So it's very flexible, is it? And the next, let's see. Okay, so here we have S1 and S2. So anyway, so this is S1. Here we have S2, is it? And we concatenate both. And here you said keys. That's what you, because you are going to add, is it, to combine them together, is it? And you kind of like to give each one a region, is it? So that's how you can borrow these keys, is it? You add. So now you have multi-level, is it, hierarchical indexing, is it, hierarchical indexing, okay. And you said you can, because now you want to convert long to wide, is it, long to wide, so add more columns, is it, add more columns, so you can call unstack, is it, unstack is always from what, from inner one by default, is it, so that's why it's going to use this inner one, A, B, C, D, is it? And if we take a look at the result, is it? So that's what the result look like, is it? So inner one, okay. And then next, let's see what we have. Okay, and over here, when we do the unstack, we didn't, so even with nav values, we still keep them, is it? And what the next one try to show here is, so anyway, so this is the one. This is the original, is it, data to unstack. And then if you call stack from wide to long, is it, so this is, you call stack, is it called stack? So it rotate of the, so shorten the, compress the columns, is it? Okay, and we call stack, and you said drop, so automatically, did you see? So if you didn't specify, by default, nav dropped, is it? The result doesn't have nav, is it? And if you want to keep that, you can say, okay, drop, and you can set this argument as a false. Then did you see all of the nav values, they will be kept. Okay, so here just some trivial facts that we can also pay attention, depends on your application, okay. And the next, let's see, so over here we have this is our data frame, is it? A data frame, you build the data frame with what? Using dictionary. Using dictionary to create a data frame. And you also set a column, is it here? Column index, is it? Okay. And the name, you can also give the column. So anyway, so here is the result, is it, of our data frame. And when you, for this data frame, for each of the index, they have name, is it? Name index. Is it? With name index, when you do stacking or unstack, you can also use the name. Is it? So here says, okay, I'm going to do stack regarding state. Is it state? If otherwise you can do 0. Is it? This is 1. Is it? And by default is do innermost. Is it? And here you want to outer one, then you need to provide the 1. Is it? And after that, you can see the result is rotated. Is it? The outer one. Okay, outer one. And for that, you can do unstack, and then you can also stack, is it, and move. So you can kind of, you see, transform. That's what we see. Data wrangling, is you transform the raw data to some other format that you want. Okay. Okay, those so all the previous discussing is using stack and unstack. The unstack, okay. And we can use some other methods called pivot, okay. And we can do long to wide, okay, wide to long also, okay. So let's take a look. Over here, we have some CSV file. It's about some macroeconomy data, okay. There are, and if we take a look, so pick. So that's the header part of the data frame that has year, quarter, GDP, consumer, government, DPI, CPI, unemployment, popular inflation, so something I don't know, okay? So anyway, so it's some macroeconomy data, okay? And we can also do some date. We can also do some data formatting as that kind. So here it says, okay, you're going to use pandas period index specify year. Is it from what? From this data, this year column. Is it, that's what it is. And for quarter, you're going to use the data's quarter column. Is it? And the name, you're going to name it as date. Is it date? So this is our periods, okay, periods. And we are not going to use all of the columns for our data frame. So you want to pick some of it, okay. And you also gave it a name for all of the column. I name it as item, okay, item. And then you said, okay, I'm going to do reindex. Okay, reindex. So I'm just going to pick out those columns, 1, 2, 3, those 3 columns out. And then you want to see the data, is it? And first I want to see so I want to see the data. So that's what the data look like. Is it? Because you're only going to pick those 3 columns, is it? And the column name is item. Okay, you didn't specify index, so by default is use number as index. Okay, and then over here, you said, okay, for this data frame, then I'm going to add index. Okay, index is you're going to use what? You are going to use whatever you just set for the date, the year and the quarter, is it? And you can also convert it to time stamps, day, is it? Okay, and you're going to set this as your data frames index, okay? And then let's see, what is that going to look like? So then you're going to have this daytime index, is it, based on the year and the quarter, is it? And the time, is it? And the time. Okay, so that's the index, is it? And then you are going to use this date as your index, is it? Because for data analysis, the date is a lot of time you're going to use quite often, is it? So how do we manipulate? Here is an example, okay? And then, So anyway, so here we have the full the data frame, this new data frame after we did some conversion, okay. And then next, let's see. Here says we can do some pivot using this method, pivot. Okay, what does pivot? Pivot, as said, it can be used to regroup data frame. Okay, regroup data frame. So what it return? The reshaped data frame organized by the given index and column. So you can specify index and column and whatever the value. So you can pick, you can select. Okay, and then let's take a look. So here is your original data. Is it your original data? Your original data, you have date, you have item, you have value. Is it for item? Those three columns, as it is from the original macroeconomies columns that now they change it to row, is it? Let's see, how do we do that? Do the pivot. It says you're going to use that date column as what? As index. Okay, so this matches the index. And you're going to use the item column as the column. And then the value going to be all of the entries, data entries, is it? So date as index, item as column. And then what we get? We get this, is it? So item, change it to column, and date are serving as index, is it? So original, it's long, is it? Now you convert it to wide, is it? Because you expand with more columns. More columns, is it? Okay, so that's what this pivot can help us do, okay? And after that, you can, so here, what this does is this new column doesn't exist, is it? You are always allowed to add a new column to a data frame, some random number. So you see this is added, a new column. Okay, and then next, let's see. So for this pivot, you just specify index and column. Index and column. Is it no value? The third value one, you leave it as default. And here the value, we have value, and here we have value 2. We have 2 columns. Is it for value part? Is it for value part? So then what we are going to get, is it? So basically you can see, you kind of have hierarchical columns. Is it hierarchical? You have 2 levels. You have value level, value 2 is it? That's 1 column, and then you have the item. Is it item? But anyway, it still make from long data frame to wide data frame. It's expand columns. Is it columns? Okay, so here we see this new method pivot, is it? And okay, so here we take a look at the original data, is it? And for that original data, you can also do set index. Okay, set index is what? You can assign column, is it, to index. Is it? You can use that. Is it? So here says, okay, I'm going to use date and item both as index. But of course, this is multi-index, hierarchical level. Is it? So set index can also, if you take a close look at the result, kind of can also make from wide to long. Is it? So basically over here you add more index. Is it? Okay. Okay, set index. And here says, okay, after you call that set index, we already know it's a long data frame. Then you can call unstack and specify which index you want to unstack. Here says item. Is it? Then it converts, so make it wider again. Is it? Okay, so here's just, you see, you can also combine all of this together. Okay, what the next one try to show is with pivot, you cannot always use pivot. Okay, and if you want to use pivot, it says you need to ensure that your data do not have rows with duplicate values for the specified columns. Okay, otherwise it won't work. If that's the case, but you do want to reshape, we have some other method called pivot table. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, and here, so you have dictionary anyway, is it? You can use dictionary to create table or data frame. Is it? So here we have this data frame. And for this data frame, if you take a look, you have duplicate copy, is it? And duplicate copy, and then if you want to call the pivot, is it? And we specify like this as the index and this as a column, and then both of this duplicate, then you will have error. Okay, so it won't work, okay, if you want to pivot. Then what should we do is it if you want to do something? And here that's, this is just one of the use. You can use a pivot table. Okay, pivot table then specifies the index and the column and the value, is it? But be careful, okay, pivot table is more like a group by. It doesn't deal just with some single value, okay? It's going to do aggregation. Not like a pivot. Pivot just repeat the original value. Is it? Pivot table based on aggregation. So you can specify, if you don't specify, okay, by default, the aggregation is mean. Okay, using mean. And here I specify, I said, okay, I want to use, if there are duplicate values, I want to use a minimum. I want to use minimum. So that's why over here, did you see, okay, item 0 and gold. You use minimum, is it? And if you use average, it should be 1.5, is it? Okay, so that's what a pivot table. So it's more like a group by, okay. Okay, and here says we can also do pivot from wide to long. Okay, there is another method that can help us do unpivot. Okay, unpivot. So anyway, so here is a data frame, is it? So to unpivot from wide to long. Previously, we learned stack, unstack. Is it? Of those, you can do that. And the reset index, is it? And the melt is the opposite of unpivot. Okay, unpivot. And that is useful to message a data frame into format. It says one or more columns are identified. Be careful. Okay, here we will have the kind of feeling, just kind of like a math. Math has some function, is it? Function with some variable, is it? And then you can plug in the value, is it? So here we kind of have variable and value kind of pair, okay, the kind of concept. So here it says you can message data frame into for where one more columns as identifier variables. Is it? And then you can also have other column considered as measure variables and pivoted into row index. Okay, then basically it says just leave the result as two non-identified columns. It's variable and value. Okay, variable and value. Okay, so that's for the MERT does. Okay, what MERT does. Okay. And then let's see the example to have some better understanding, okay? So over here, it's regarding our previous DF, data frame. Is a data frame, I remember, let's take a quick look back, that data frame, what it look. Oh, the data frame has 4 column, key A, B, C, is it? It has 4 column, K, and A, and B, and C, is it 4 column, and then you have full bar that, is it? And then you have some values, kind of like that, is it? And here you call the MERT, is it? And with MERT, and here is the column for the identification, is it? So that's why it's called ID variables, is it? ID variables. Okay, and then here to keep like that. But then did you see for the result, it just has two unnamed kind of, you didn't name it, is it? And it automatically has columns with variable and the value, is it? So what's left of these columns, is it? They are going to be served as variable. Here is a variable, and then has the matching value, is it? So that's what this MERT method does, okay? So you can specify kind of who will serve as variable, okay? And then let's take a look more example. And then here it says, okay, and you can call pivot on that. So make from long to wide, is it? Long to wide. And then you have the key and you have the, so this is a column, is it? So the variable of the ABCs is from variables go back to as a column, is it? And you can, and for this result, is it? You can also reset index. Reset index, if you doesn't specify, it use what? It use a default number as a 0, 1, 2, 3 as index, okay, as index. And then next, let's take a look. What over here, okay, you said I'm going to use that key column as ID variables, but for the value variable, I will only pick A and B, not others. Is it? Then did you see all C will not be included. So you have the corresponding variable and value. Is it? These two matching one, and all of the other is going to be gone, okay? And then let's take a look more. And you can also specify like C also serve as a variable. Is it variable? Then you will have ABC, okay? So what is more interesting, you can see is, you see, you can also have that key and then and B, is it? As variable. This will serve as, and it will automatically, did you see, get the corresponding value matching that variable. So this is what this MERT. So The matrix is just leave kind of two columns. One column purely serve as variable and the other column purely serve as a matching value. Okay, matching value. So this is definitely from wide to long. Okay. Okay, so this is the idea about data wrangling. And then let's take a look. The second note in this unit. Then what the next part we are going to discuss is about data aggregation. So aggregation more related with group. As I previously, we learned the pivot table also kind of can do the grouping. That. So let's take a look. And for data wrangling, generally, we don't worry about aggregation. Is it? You just transform the raw data into the format as you want. Is it? Either convert from long to wide or from wide to long. Okay. And the next one is group. Is it? And whenever you want to group, and of course it's involved how you want to aggregate. Is it aggregation? So aggregation is you want to add all of them together, or you want to find the mean or median. Is it median? Or you want to find the minimum or maximum? Is there some other features? Is it? So that's considered aggregation. Is it? Because it's involved a number of items. Oh, I'm sorry, I totally mess up here, not media, it's media. For some reason, okay, the word just, okay, so let's take a look here. So we have a data frame, as it looks like they have 4 columns, is it? And if you observe it closely, you will find under key 1, you have some repetitive, is it? And under key 2, you also have some repetitive ones, is it? And so maybe you said, okay, I want to group my data frame. Is it based on it belong A or belong B? Is it? How do you do that? And you're going to base grouping on which column? Is this here said, okay, I want to group data 1 column by A or B. Is it? Then you can call the group by, and then you specify the key you want to use for the group by. Is it? And be careful, okay, group by what it returned. Did you see what it returned is some group by object. Okay, some group by object. So if you do want to do something on it, is it here you can call me. Is it call me, then did you see? It will give you, okay, A's mean or B's mean. Is it? Okay, so that's regarding the group by, okay. And what is the next one? You can group by not based on a single key. You can use multiple keys. Is it? And then you can do me. Okay, you can do me. So here it gives you hierarchical mean result, and you can also do unstacking and then do data wrangling as it convert to the formatting. And what the next one try to show? The data frames data 1, if you recall, that's some value, etc. And for the original, what it has is key 1, key 2, etc. And here I have 2 array, NumPy array. One is called state, and the other one is called year. Is it called year? And you said I'm going to group by these 2 new series. How can that? That the original data doesn't have, it only have key 1 and key 2. How can you group it by them? That's also allowed when you do group by. okay, then it will automatically do the matching, okay, using this to match key 1 and using the second is it to matching key 2, okay, so it will find the matching pattern. So you can also specify if the pattern match, you can also specify the series to do group by. And what the next one try to show is just you can use when you do group by, you can also directly is it specify the column name. Okay, not necessary. You always need to do. So here just shows multiple ways. Is it? And here when you call the group, you still provide the original data frame, and then index of that column name. Is it? And you can also just directly specify the column name. That's also fine. Okay, so it just shows multiple options. Okay, and you can also do count if you want to know how many items is it in each group. So that's the size method. And what the next one try to show, if you recall, the group by it returned is what? Group by objects. Okay, but the group by, if you just directly want to display it, it just show that group by. But you can iterate. Okay, you can iterate. And it says it will be a tuple. Okay, two tuple generated. Okay, and with our original one, because based on key 1, as the key 1 has 2, A and B, is it? So did you see A? So what it returns? It returns the name of the group and the contents of the group. So this is name, this is the content. Is it within that group? Okay, within. And you can use loop iteration to do it. So same thing as it for the hierarchical one, as it for hierarchical one. And because it's multiple items and it's a tuple over here for the name part, is it? And you can also convert them to list, is it? So then here it will show, is it? So this is the tuple, is it? First tuple. This is the second tuple. And for the first tuple, you have a string, and then you have kind of like a data frame, is it? So a key and a data frame, is it? That's what it has. And because of this, then you can also apply it to the dictionary. Is it? You can do to a dictionary. And then you can also extract the corresponding key part. The key part. Is it? So that's the key. So you can specify either A or B based on the group name. Okay. So that's what this part try to show. Okay, try to show. Okay, and for the group by, it says you can also group by use data frames, data type to do group by. Okay, and you can also specify using which column along which axis. Is it? Here says, okay, I'm going to using columns. Is it value to do group by? And over here, the group by is based on the type. What is the type it has? It has floating number, and it also has object. Is it? So then over here, you will have the result for the group by, as it is based on just the data frames type. Okay, then it will give you the corresponding result. So here it's just to try to show there are multiple things you can also do group by, not necessary, just whatever you specify the index from the column. Okay. Okay, so I think we are going to stop here today, and I believe Wednesday we should be able to complete this unit study. So before we dismiss, are there